Assalamualaikum. My name is Ubi Shafira binti Ong Hamdani, and today our group will be presenting about halal food services in Malaysia. The halal food services industry in Malaysia includes all food businesses such as restaurant, cafe, catering, hotel, and airlines that prepare, serve, and sell food according to Islamic law and regulation. Malaysia is known as worldwide as a leader in the halal food sector because of strong government support, a clear halal certification system, and a growing Muslim middle class that creates a high local demand. The objective of this study is to explore the actual halal food practices in the food industry and learn how halal food producers manage their workplace under the requirement in Malaysian settings. The findings of this study will serve as a foundation for food producers and provide to improve the current practices.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Lutfi bin Zuraidi, and I will explain about the food service premise. Food service premise can be referred to the premise that are involved in preparing, processing, serving, or selling food and beverage to the consumer. According to the Malaysia Halal Certification or MPPHM, food service premise must comply with the halal requirement in all operational activity. This include ingredient use, cleanliness, food handling procedures, storage, and employee management. Example of the food service premise, which is restaurant, cafeteria, hotel kitchen, catering company, bakeries, and food kiosks. This shows that halal compliance is not only focused on the final food product but also on the entire operational process within the premise. Food service establishment can be classified into several categories based on their operation and service provider. For the first category, which is restaurant, which provide a dine-in or take-away meal and beverage to the customer. And the second category, which is a hotel kitchen, which is can be prepare food for the hotel guests, event, and room service. And we can also say about the third category, which is a catering service, can provide the food for institution, the function, ceremony, and large-scale event. Besides that, the cafeteria and the kitchen usually operate in the school, university, factory, and office. Lastly, we can say the example about the bakery and the food kiosk. It can be focused on the bakery product and a small-scale food sales. Although each category has a different operational activity, all of them are still required to comply with the halal standard and the halal certification requirement established by the JAKI. Scope of the halal certification for the food service cover to the entire food service operational chain. This include the sourcing raw material, food preparation, processing, storage, transportation, and service activity. Apart from that, the halal certification also cover the hygiene practice, sanitation procedure, documentation, and halal record management. Food premise must ensure that there is no cross-contamination between halal and non-halal material during operation. This is important because halal certification focus not only on the final product but also on the overall operational management system within the organization. Therefore, every process within the food service operation must consistent comply with the halal requirement to maintain halal status and customer trust. For the compliance to the halal certification, it also we can discuss about the halal assurance system, also known as the HAS or internal halal control system, or also known which is IHACS. HAS refer to the systematic halal management system developed to ensure continuous halal compliance within an organization. Meanwhile, IHCH, which is internal halal control system, refer to the internal monitoring and control mechanism used to supervise daily halal operation. Some important elements in the HAS and IHCS include the appointment of the halal committees, halal documentation, supplier monitoring, halal training for the employee, and internal halal audit. These systems are very important because they help organization reduce the risk of the halal non-compliance and maintain halal integrity through the operation. In addition, effective implementation of HAS and IHCS can improve consumer confidence and help food premise prepared for halal audit conducted by JAKIM. Last but not least, without an effective halal control system, organization may face risks such as cross-contamination, non-compliant issue, and even suspension of the halal certification.
Next is management responsibility. Management plays a very important role in ensuring halal compliance. This is because they are responsible to make sure that the company follows the halal guidelines that made by JAKIM. For example, the management responsible for purchasing ingredients from approved halal suppliers, providing halal training to employees, and making sure that proper hygiene practices are followed. Other than that, management also needs to provide enough resources and support so that halal procedures can be implemented effectively. So, when management is committed to halal compliance, it can help maintain the company's reputation and increase customers' trust. Now, let's move on to premise and location requirements. A halal food service premise must always be clean, safe, and well maintained. It should have proper lighting, ventilation, and a good waste management system. The premises should also be free from pests and any source of contamination. In terms of location, the business should operate in an environment that supports cleanliness and food safety. Another important requirement is separating halal food preparation areas from any non-halal materials to avoid cross-contaminations. This includes the storage area. These requirements help ensure that food remains safe and halal for consumers. Another important requirement is equipment and utensils. All equipment and utensils used in food preparation, such as knives, cutting boards, pots, and containers, must be clean and free from non-halal contamination. Food service operators should also ensure that equipment used for halal food is not mixed with equipment used for non-halal products, where it means that they need to ensure that the equipment is dedicated for halal food only. Next is regular cleaning and proper maintenance are also important to maintain food quality and hygiene. In conclusion, by using clean and suitable equipment, food service providers can prevent cross-contamination and maintain the halal integrity of their products. So that's all from me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Ahmad Zamuddin and now I will explain on the importance of raw material and ingredient as well as processing, handling and storage in the halal food service industry. Firstly, all raw material and ingredient used in food preparation must be halal and obtained from approved supplier. Food service operator need to ensure that the ingredient do not contain any prohibited substances such as pork, alcohol and or ingredient derived from non-halal substances. This is important because the halal status of the final product depend heavily on the halal status of its ingredient. Secondly, during the processing stage, food must be prepared according to halal requirement. The preparation process should prevent any possibility of contamination with non-halal material, and equipment and utensils used should also be sustainable and clean to maintain halal integrity. Next, proper handling practices are equally important. Employees must be trained to handle food carefully and follow halal procedure at all times. This helps prevent cross-contamination and ensure that halal food remain halal throughout the preparation process. And finally, storage play a significant role in maintaining food quality and halal compliance. Raw material and finished product should be stored in clean and designated area. Proper temperature control and organization are necessary to preserve freshness and prevent contamination of the product. Next, I will discuss about hygiene, sanitation and food safety. In Islam, cleanliness is highly emphasized. Therefore, all food handler must maintain good personal hygiene by washing their hands regularly, wearing clean uniform, wearing hairnet, glove when necessary, and following proper hygiene practices. Food handlers who are sick should avoid handling food to prevent any contamination. The second aspect is sanitation of food premises. Kitchen and preparation area must be clean and sanitized regularly. A clean environment reduces the risk of contamination and helps maintain consumer confidence in halal food establishment. Another important aspect is food safety. Food service operator should comply with food safety regulation and apply systems such as HACCP to identify and control potential hazards. This includes preventing biological contamination from bacteria, chemical contamination from cleaning agent, and physical contamination from outside object. And lastly, pest control management is necessary to ensure that food premises remain free from insect, rodent, and other pests that may compromise food safety and hygiene. And lastly, I will discuss about documentation and record keeping. Documentation is a very important part of halal management because it provides evidence that halal requirements are being followed consistently. Proper record also help organization prepare for audit and maintain their halal certification. The first type of record is supplier documentation. Food service operators should keep record of supplier, halal certificate and ingredient specification. This allows business to verify that all ingredients used are from approved halal sources. The second type is operational record. This includes record related to receiving raw material, food processing activity, storage condition, and product distribution. Such record help ensure that traceability throughout the supply chain can be detected. Another important record is staff training documentation. Business should keep record of employee training related to halal awareness, hygiene, sanitation, and food safety. This demonstrates that employees are competent and understand about halal requirement. And finally, audit and compliance record should be maintained. This includes internal audit report, inspection finding, corrective action, and certification document. This record help organization continuously improve their halal management system and demonstrate compliance to certification body. To conclude my presentation, the success of halal food service industry in Malaysia depend on three key factors: using halal raw material with proper handling and storage, maintain high standard of hygiene and food safety, and keeping accurate documentation and record. Together, these practices help preserve halal integrity and strengthen consumer trust in halal food services.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sharifah Nuriana Izzati. I will explain about the overview of halal related laws in Malaysia. So, halal regulation relies on an integrated web of federal civil law and then the state level Sharia enactment and local government bylaws. So, on the first point, which is the statutory approach, the concept of halal toyiban, which translates to permissible, is actually a legal mandate in Malaysia. Um, like under the Food Act 1983 and Food Regulation 1985 that managed by the Ministry of Health, Safety and Hygiene are directly linked to halal status. So in our courts, a food product cannot be legally certified as halal if it prepared in unhygienic condition. So you can see that the Ta'rif of Halal or definition order, which legally defines halal and Muslim food according to Hukum Syara. And then the second one is a certification order, which officially designated by JAKIM and state religious authority, which is Jain or Main, as the sole competent authorities authorized to issue halal certificates and govern the use of the official Halal Malaysia logo. So now that we have established the legal pillars, so next I will explain the administer that who is actually administer these laws on a daily basis. Right, for the next part is the role of Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, which is JAKIM. So, under the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, Islamic affairs strictly under individual state jurisdiction. This creates a unique federal state split, as shown on this slide. The state religious departments, or we call it JAIN, manage local regional license, while JAKIM acts as the centralized federal agency that coordinates national standardization and also manage the global recognition. So JAKIM enforced this via the Malaysian Halal Certification Procedure Manual, which is MPPHM. But however, while JAKIM standard are universally praised or globally respected, they actually create a high hill to support local business lah, because like according to recent research, the majority of our local small and micro size food enterprise actually face a massive barrier to halal preparation. Macam diorang susah untuk nak comply lah with the halal compliance, because this micro business struggle heavily with the high financial costs to upgrade physical infrastructure to avoid cross contamination, and then the layout limits of small rental shops, and also the complicated of paperwork to required untuk required ikut the compliance of JAKIM. So this gap between world class standards and also SME survival is actually a very critical challenge lah in our national food industry. Okay, for the last slide, which is the enforcement and legal actions of on non-compliance. So the first one is JAKIM and JAIN officers do not possess direct executive responsibility to arrest or prosecute offenders under civil commercial law. So, like for example, if an officer walks into a kitchen and they see the fake halal logo, they cannot simply write a civil court summons or seize the goods on their own. And then the next one is cooperative multi-agency. So to conduct legal raids and bring cases to court, the halal officers must execute joint operation with Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, which is KPD and KK, that carry the legal prosecuting responsibility under Trade Description Act 2011. So, but unfortunately, this broken system can actually sometimes result in critical oversight gap lah, as discussed in this slide. Like for example, the most known example, which is the Johor meat cartel scandal, where frozen non-halal meat was smuggled past custom and custom and repackaged with fake halal sticker. So more recently, this issue with uncertified central cloud kitchens and also delivery food vendors using unknown credential have continued to reduce macam reduce consumer trust lah untuk beli meat dekat pasar luar. So, in conclusion, Malaysia actually possess a highly detailed and also a globally protected halal standard. But however, the legal and enforcement machinery backing it require continuous modernization, a a bridge to support struggling SMEs, and a serious legal evolution to close these operational loopholes. That is all for my part. Thank you.
We will continue for the next part, that is the issues and challenges in halal food services industry in Malaysia. Along with the development of halal sector, many issues and problems also arise. I will not specify all the issues, but in this study, there is only three big points that we will focus. The first one is halal certification and standard. As we know, obtaining halal certification is a hassle. There are strict adherence protocol involving multiple hierarchical level and excessive paperwork. It's also demanding high cost and time consuming. There is some issue related, including the food producer still use the same halal logo, halal certification, even though the certificate is already expired. This might be due to some of the business owner were not aware that the halal certification has expired or they refuse to renew it. Halal certification is valid for 2 years, and it is difficult for them to always renew the certification since it costs money and time consuming. Next, halal standard. Establishing standardized halal certification practices on a global scale is a challenge. The standard of halal in various countries is different depending on the practices of Islamic school of thought. For example, in Malaysia, we are referring to Shafi'i scholars. Halal certification is a necessary operational step to addressing Muslim needs, but the lack of global alignment on certification increase costs and can destroy value. The second point is consumer perception and trust. As we know, halal food services involving serving food to consumers, so the consumer trust is crucial. Searching halal in food restaurant is mandatory. Not all restaurants provide halal certification, so consumers take a similar approach to halal. So, for example, when they see a pork free, they might think that the restaurant is serving halal food. Um, any doubtful ingredient might be non-halal. So consumer awareness on this matter should be addressed. Most companies are practicing putting halal mark or halal logo on their premises, even though they do not understand the actual concept of halal, as if they are doing it for the sake of gaining confidence from the Muslim consumers. This is abusing the halal logo certification. Lastly, the supply chain and traceability. Since halal is a farm to fork process and all the way through the supply chain, uh, aspects such as warehousing, transportation, logistics all play a role in maintaining and demonstrating halal integrity. Another challenge is that was a food service role to meet halal requirement. The issue related including the authenticity issues in a food ingredient and food products that they use. The authentication is defined as a process in which a food is verified as conforming to its label description. This will lead to slower traceability procedure of the product, especially when non-conformance occur. For conclusion, the halal food service industry in Malaysia is very important to the country economy. It helps the country earn a lot of money by offering jobs and sales. Malaysia halal food services industry has a system in place. This system includes certification, logistics, research, and trained workers. This help local food providers compete well in Malaysia and other countries. However, the industry also faces some challenges. There is competition to satisfy consumers, and it is hard to make sure that all halal products are authentic. The halal food services industry will keep playing a role and will keep growing in the future. That's all from our group. Thank you.